everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got a M&P Shield by Smith & Wesson, the M2.0 version, the next generation of the Shield. And this one is chambered in 9mm. They are also available in 40 caliber. So let me pick it up, show you that it's unloaded, and talk about this gun a little bit. So of course it's unloaded. This is a single stack 9mm that's intended for concealed carry, deep conceal. It's real thin and easy to conceal. It comes with 2 magazines. It comes with this flush mount magazine which holds 7, and when that's in the gun it fits nice flush right with the edge of it. And it also comes right with it, this 8-round magazine with a little pinky extender. And when you put that magazine in there, you get just about a 3-finger grip. A little bit of hang off, but not much. So you can use that either for range time, make it a little more comfortable to hold, or you can use this as your reload mag, and then this one here to get that grip as short as possible. 2-finger grip, but that way you can more easily hide that grip. The gun has a lot of features that make it ergonomic. It has some nice texturing. It's a little bit on the aggressive side, but it doesn't hurt your hand, but it does get you a good solid grip on the gun. One thing I would find is that this rubbing up against your body might be a little unpleasant, so you'd want to wear a t-shirt or have a holster that comes up and kind of covers that area. But when you've got a hold of the gun, you don't feel at any point like you're going to lose your grip on it. It stays right in your hand. And throughout the entire time we were shooting it, it didn't chew up our hand or make our hand sore at all. It has these fish scale serrations at the rear and an abbreviated version of them at the front for doing a press check. Really easy to get a hold of, but they don't scratch your hands at all. So they're just well designed. It has 3-dot sights, and they're real bright and easy to see. Now, these are regular sights, they're not night sights, they're just conventional sights. But we found them real easy to pick the sights up, easy to see on the range. They're dovetailed front and rear. See, there's a viewport for looking to see that the chamber is loaded. The slide stop side release is only on the one side, but we did find it very easy to get a hold of to drop the weapon, to drop the slide. The first time I didn't get my thumb on it correctly. Disassembly on this is also quite easy. This is also available with a thumb safety. They have a model available with the thumb safety. This particular one doesn't have it. But it does have all the internal safeties you've come to expect on this type of gun, Glock, the Walthers, and the other guns in its territory. It has the hinge trigger. This particular hinge trigger doesn't seem to be as obtrusive as some of the others that pivoted more and felt a little bit weird. You really don't even feel the hinge on this. So like the little split trigger on the Glocks and some of the other guns, it just kind of disappears into the woodwork. It's there, it does its job, it prevents the trigger from pulling itself inadvertently when you're dropping it, but it doesn't really affect the trigger feel at all. One of the things about this gun that really significantly improved over the prior version is the trigger. There's a little bit of take up, but not much. A real short, crisp break. And it is a very nice trigger. It's fairly light, it's in the 4 to 5 pound range, extremely crisp and short. The reset on it is almost all the way out, but all the way out's not all that far. This would be if I let off it completely. So it doesn't have necessarily a super short reset compared to the overall trigger stroke, but the trigger stroke itself is quite short, quite crisp, and that reset is pretty short. So it made it really easy to get nice quick follow-up shots. You didn't feel like you were pulling the trigger from one end of the parking lot to the other. Overall, it was actually quite comfortable and easy to use trigger. One of the things you'll find with this type of gun, being very small, being very thin, is that it does take a little work to figure out how to grip it and how to get your point on it to get your good shots and good groups. Took us a little bit of practice time with this to dial it in and figure out exactly where we wanted to hit. But once we did that, we were pulling nice tight groups with this. From a dimensions standpoint, it's 6.1 inches front to back, it's 4.5 inches tall, and it's 0.99 inches thick. So it's actually a fairly thin gun when you look at many of the other single stacks that are out there. And all the controls are flush and well blended. Nothing's going to hang up during your draw. Nothing's going to poke out or make the gun excessively difficult to put into a holster or conceal. And even the magazine release, which is very easy to get to, is textured and blended in. So it's very unlikely that you're going to accidentally hit that magazine release even if you have your thumb in that area when you're gripping it. So we had no malfunctions with this gun. From round 1 to the last round we fired, this thing just worked. It ate whatever we fed it and was actually quite a reliable gun. We had in the past tried some of the prior Shield versions and not liked them as much, but we found this one to actually be quite nice. This is something that we could actually consider carrying. Coming in at 18.3 ounces, it's actually a fairly light gun, and with an MSRP of $479 and a street price likely to be well below that, it's actually quite an economical gun. Fits right into the budget and gives a lot of the characteristics you're looking for in a high quality gun. Disassembly on this is very easy. You just lock it open. Now there's two ways to disengage the sear. One way is right inside here. See if I can get it where you can see it. There's a lever, and it's kind of hidden under the extractor. Right there, that little yellow lever. You can push that down with a punch, and I'm going to turn it to face me to do it because it's a little bit difficult to do it from the side. But now you'll see I've pushed it down. That disengages the sear. And at this point you can disassemble the gun without pulling the trigger. It has a couple advantages. One, you're not pulling the trigger. It's a little bit safer. There's no way to operate that without opening the gun so you know it's unloaded. You can also optionally choose to not use that feature and then just pull the trigger. But once you've got it disassembled, once you've got it locked back, just pull down the takedown lever, release it, and it'll come right apart. And there's your two halves. And you can more clearly see that little disengagement lever. It's on the bottom, right in there. Now when you go to put it back together again, you have to remember to put that back up. But even if you forget, first time you slap a magazine in there, it'll drive it up for you. So it's kind of difficult to forget to get it back into operational condition. So now that I've got it apart, let's talk about the parts of it in the inside. We'll talk about the frame first. It's got a nice set of robust rails at the rear. There's your rails. And at the front. And they're good sized, solid, robust rails. It's fairly clean in here. There's not a whole lot going on. It's not an overly complex mechanism. Probably about the most complex thing is that sear release, which you can choose to ignore. But it's pretty typical of your striker-fired guns that you'll see out there. The slide has a captive dual recoil spring. It has a 3.1-inch barrel. The feed ramp on it is what I like to call machine polished. It's not super mirror finished, but it is quite smooth. It's a little squared off. It's not as wide as some feed ramps, but as I mentioned, there was absolutely no ammo sensitivity with this. It fed everything that we wanted to feed it. And let's just take a look inside the barrel. You'll see it's conventional rifling, and everything is smooth and well machined. Setting the barrel aside for a second, go into the slide. You have your drop safety plunger, so it is a drop safe weapon. Sear hook, and everything in here is nicely smooth and well done. Overall, what I'm finding with this is it's a well constructed gun. It has all the attributes of a gun that you would expect to be long lived and quite reliable. Reassembly is just as easy as taking it apart. Drop the barrel back in, slide the recoil spring in. Now one thing I have noticed with this one is that the base is a little bit on the wide side and it's real easy to get it off center. If you get it off center, like even a little bit like that, you're going to have a hard time putting it back together. So when you go to put it back together, if it hangs up and doesn't want to come apart, or what doesn't want to go back together, make sure you got that centered. And by the way, it does have a flat recoil spring. So I think I've got it centered properly. I'll go ahead and put it back together. Went right back on, slid on, so I know I have it set right. Now I can reach in there with either with my finger or a pick. I can grab this and flip it back up. Or I could have just slapped a magazine in and that would have popped it up. Flip the takedown lever, close the gun, and you're back in operational condition. So it's a really easy to maintain gun. Sometimes these smaller guns get a little bit difficult to deal with. This one proves not to be that way. From a size perspective, I got a couple other guns here on the table that are competing for this market of the ultra thin concealed carry. One of those guns is the Walther PPS, which I've got right here. This particular one has a Hogue grip sleeve on it. This is Hammer's gun, and he put this Hogue grip sleeve on it. Without the grip sleeve, you'll still see it's got a bit of a bulge to it. It's kind of a fat little grip, but it is, of course, a little bit thinner than it would be without this grip sleeve. And what I find is if I put the two next to each other, the PPS is actually a little bit longer. Actually, it'd probably be easier if I put it this way. The PPS is a little bit longer than the Shield, but it's a little bit shorter in the grip when you don't consider the magazine. When you drop a flush mount magazine into each gun, it's just a hair shorter. Not enough that it's going to make any amount of difference whatsoever, but it does have a slightly longer barrel. So the Shield kind of wins the game a little bit when it comes to size. And then of course another gun that you might be comparing to would be a Glock 43, another popular contender in that realm. And that comes with a 7-round magazine that's flush, and it also comes with a 7-round pinky extender magazine, but the pinky extender doesn't add any capacity. So it's 7 rounds on the Glock compared to the 7 or 8 on this one. And I just realized I misspoke. The Glock's actually only 6 rounds, even with the pinky extender. So it has a little bit shorter grip than the M&P, which make it a little bit easier to conceal. But you are giving up 1 round. Sorry about that misstatement there. From a size perspective, lengthwise, they're almost identical. So the M&P is right in there consistent, a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, but real close to other guns that would be currently competing with it, which makes it definitely a viable choice for concealed carry, ankle, inside the waistband, or probably even throw it in a pocket. You know, stick it in something like a DeSantis Nemesis holster, pop it right into the pocket. It's a nice, light, perfect gun for that. So overall, we've been very happy with this gun and found that Smith & Wesson is really up to the game with the enhancements to the trigger and the overall ergonomics of this gun. They got it right. So if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe. Of course, check us out on Facebook, and have a great day. Thank you.